Um, it's one of the islands that was exposed to radiation during the nuclear testing program that was conducted by the United States between 1946 and 1958. And my people and some of the survivors is my mom. She was exposed to the radiation, not knowing that they were doing all this testing on Bikini Atoll, which is next to Rongelap Atoll. The United States conducted all these nuclear bombs, and the strongest bombs that was dropped was the Bravo shot, and my mom is one of those exposed. But Rongelap is unique, low-lying atoll, trees, sandy beaches, blue water, in the lagoon. It's a tourism, spot, um, and people are humble. We have a very unique constitutions, um, you know, that we are being governed by, and it doesn't discriminate against any religion.
Right, right. I would also add that Mayor James Matayoshi is not only the mayor of Rongelap, but he's also the chairman of the Mayors Association of Marshall Islands. And now, this last year, he was also he was appointed as or elected as the chairman of the Mayors Association of Micronesia, which includes Marshall Islands, Federated States of Micronesia, Palau, and few other countries. So he's a very key person over there, and he's been very helpful to our community. I met him in 2011 for the first time, and the first project that we talked to him about was the computer training center, which was run or established by the Humanity First. And Mayor helped us. He gave us space for it. He also provided the tutoring staff and costs associated with that. Mayor, what was your intake after the classes started? How was the reaction from the community and your own feelings as to how helpful it was to the local people?
Well, it was very interesting because when I first met Imam Kausher,
Yes.
and he told me that I was one of the few that when he first came to the Marshall Islands,
Right.
I was one of the few that he met.
Right.
And he visited my office and started to introduce himself, the Ahmadiyya community,
Yes.
and what they were all about, and humanity first as well. So
Right.
I was really impressed, and I saw in Imam Kausher a very good and gentle person.
Right.
So with an instinct, I welcome Imam Kausher and all their activities within our jurisdiction of our local government.
Right. Right.
And we had a very good start
Yes.
since we first met.
Yes.
And with the introduction of the computer training program, we donated the space.
Yes.
Without any hesitation, we believed in the cause of helping the poor people in the Marshall Islands,
Right.
as grassroots.
Yeah.
And as the president of the Marshall Island Mayors Association, as well as the president for the Pacific Island Local Government Association within the Pacific region, it is the kind of work that we would like to get involved with, and
Yes.
we are very glad that Ahmadiyya community, as well as their unique association, Humanity First, was able to provide those kind of training needs.
In relation to that, last year we had our physicians group that came there and who served at the hospital for a week. That was also under Humanity First, and if you recall, the first brain surgery was done at Marshall Islands that they had not seen before, or it could not be done at the hospital. So I would like you to express, what was the reaction or the feelings among some of your fellow, politicians or other office holders of the country. What was their reaction to that? Because as an overall, there is a negative reaction to the Muslims. But I think after that trip, maybe some things did change, or in some.
Yeah, it is really interesting because understanding my relationship with the community,
Right.
and knowing Imam Kausher and all the doctors and all the specialists that have contributed their valuable time, from their own profession and works, to come out to the Marshall Islands and really did some community service. And one of the technical, neurosurgeon that
Yeah.
did surgery,
Dr. Khan, yes.
Dr. Khan, on one of the Marshallese patient,
Right.
was very unique because it was the first surgery that was conducted of its kind that Dr. Khan did along with the other surgeon and physicians, and
Right.
walking out of the hospital and knowing that the doctors were doing a good job, and hearing criticism
Right.
outside of the hospital was very heartbroken for me, because I knew that these were good people providing humanitarian service in our region,
Yeah.
especially for the Marshall Islands.
Yeah, we've been doing the blood drives also for the hospital.
For the hospital, donating blood,
Yeah.
and
I think it was one of your brothers also who got the use of the blood from one of those drives that we
yes,
had.
he was
Yeah.
suffering hypertension
Right.
and diabetes, and
Right.
with the good work of
Right.
the community, you were able to provide
So how would you say
those,
that in Marshall Islands from a year or two ago to now, are any impressions changing now among the public, among the
well,
officials?
I can say this. 2 years ago, people were very conservative about welcoming, a different faith, beliefs, such as the Muslim Ahmadiyya community. I sense that after all the community works that you have done, providing computer service training, donating medical staffs who are qualified that works in the U.S. as medical doctors and Canada and elsewhere, providing this kind of service in the Marshall Islands really changes the mindset
Okay.
of being territorial about being Christians or having other faiths, but really are starting to click and register in their minds that everyone is human beings.
Right.
Our Constitution doesn't
Right.
prohibits any beliefs.
Yes.
The U.S. ambassador is attending
Yes.
the mosque and their programs.
Right.
Even he himself joined the drive to donate
Yes.
blood.
Yes. Every time we have a
And
blood drive,
I'm
ambassador
really
shows
impressed
up
with
there.
the ambassador's participation, and
Yeah.
I would like to really commend his leadership,
Yeah.
because through his participation, being a U.S. ambassador for the Republic of the Marshall Islands from the U.S. and participating in these kind of events really changes the mindset of our Marshallese counterparts, citizens. And now it's kind of like, okay, now the U.S. ambassador is recognizing them. After all, they may not be a good bad people, but they're
Well,
good
all I can
people,
say is that
really helping us.
we are committed and we will continue to work in that community in different ways, like we are working with you on the agriculture pilot program, and there'll be many other things that we will be working with you, and hopefully you'll still be cooperating with us as you have done in the past, and we really appreciate your appreciation and your cooperation. Thank you very much for this program and for giving us this time. And
Yeah,
Sam,
thank you, Fala.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here, and I welcome and will always welcome, humanity,
Right.
first is work in the Marshall Islands.
Thank
so
you
let's
very
do
much.
more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor James, and thank you very much, Sam, for being here.